the those are bricks there on the sides?
Yes, it is. It's surrounded by bricks. It's just a little architectural design.
And then we have the O'Hare Airport, and this is kind of a different image than the previous ones we've looked at, but still architectural.
Yeah, it's kind of a transitional image here in my series of photos. This was a photo taken in the walkway between two different terminals in Chicago's airport, where they have this fantastic neon light show that goes along, and there's escalators that are in the middle there and moving walkways, and it's just a wonderful spot. If you've got 5 minutes when you're trying to catch your plane, to just stop and take some images, get some good reflections off the metal on the escalators. It's a great place to shoot.
It feels very busy and very alive.
Very much
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
which it is. So
Yeah.
you've captured it well. And as we transition into some of your blacklight images, these are very different than your architectural images. What inspired you to come up with this series?
Well, I remember seeing black lights when I was younger. A lot of the kids, of course, had them when we were young, and the posters and things like that. And I was always impressed by the way the light bounced off them. But then I saw a more modern photographer doing some really incredible things with black light, and just thought I must try it. It really has been a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it very much.
And you use a macro lens for a lot of this, right?
Primarily, I do use a macro lens. I do setups with fluorescent cardboard tubes, which bounce the light off it. I'll angle a couple of fluorescent tubes onto those cardboard tubes to get that light to bounce back. Use a lot of reflective material, either mylar or glass or mirror, things like that, to keep the light bouncing into the image to be able to capture it in a reasonable amount of time.
And so we have neon ripples.
Yes.
What were you actually taking pictures of here?
This is actually just a piece of glass, textured glass that I'm shooting straight on, and behind that textured glass is those fluorescent paper tubes that I'm bouncing the light off. So I'm just taking a straight shot, trying to get that color bleeding through the glass. The glass is doing all the distorting of the color, and I think it provides a pretty nice image. This image I recently had in an abstract exhibit, and it got a nice mention for the quality of this image. I was real pleased with that.
I mean, I would have never guessed that this was just glass shot straight on.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then we have saturated waves.
Saturated waves is actually, they're the little glow sticks in a bowl. Glow sticks under black light glow without them being broken. So you just put your glow sticks wherever you want, and you get a nice close-up. And then this is actually through a glass bowl where the glow sticks are.
Okay.
And they're just kind of arranged in that bowl. And then I did montage this one as well. I took it and duplicated it and flipped it over, much like I do with the architecture images.
That's nice. So you're rolling that technique over into different series.
Yeah, they're both abstract. They both have montages. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. And then we have colors in a bottle. Now I could tell with this one that this was a bottle, but that's very nice, the glass effect that it has giving here. And
yeah, it's one of those very inexpensive pieces of glass you get at craft stores or things like that. I find the cheaper the quality of the glass, the more distortion occurs. So I look for things like antique glass and anything inexpensive that would cause distortion of the light makes for a nice picture.
And then we have flowing colors. What is this? I can't figure it out.
This is just another straight-on shot of a piece of glass, textured glass. I've gotten a lot of textured glasses from stores that do stained glass work, and I look for clear glass that they have, and then I try to produce the color behind them. Again, we've just got construction paper that's fluorescent behind them with black light on it, causing that reflection.
And how long are your exposures for these images?
Well, it varies, but they're longer than a normal exposure would be. I'd say anywhere from maybe a 1/15 of a second down to a 1/2 a second. And I'm always using a tripod because that's very slow. And I do try to keep it at like 100 ISO, so I keep the good quality of image. I don't pump the ISO up to just to get a grainier shot.
Right. And then we have marble rhythms. So these are marbles that you have here.
Yep, this is the same technique, only the marbles are laying on a mirror, and the colored tubes are around the marbles, and the fluorescent black lights are bouncing off the tubes and casting their shadows or their light into the marbles.
And they look like they've been lined up very, very nicely.
Well, you can tell I like symmetry.
Yeah. And we have Psychedelic Bottle. The color, how did you achieve that blur in the background? Did you open up your aperture?
Yes, this is very shallow depth of field. I was probably shooting at about 2.8 with that 100 macro lens, which gives you that really nice distorted background effect. The background here is actually something that I painted. I just took some black light paints or fluorescent paints and painted it on a piece of cardboard to give it some stripes. And I've used it as a background in a number of images. It's been a lot of fun.
Cool.
Again, with a cheap glass to get that distortion.
And we have Spiraltini. What were you using, more glow sticks, or what was the?
Spiraltini is actually it's a martini glass with a slinky in it.
Oh, okay.
It's a fluorescent slinky, which I've gotten very close up to. The slinky had that kind of spiral look to it, as does the martini glass that was there. It was a very textured martini glass. I put the slinky inside it, got very close with that 100 macro lens, and tried to get some nice detail shots.
So when you're trying to find materials for this, and you know that you're looking for neon colored things or things that are going to reflect.
Yes.
Do you say, "Oh, I want to use a slinky," or does it just happen?
I try to find things that are reflective in neon, and whatever I stumble across, I'll look. I try to think like a child, because a lot of things, for kids are neon or fluorescent, and that's where I found a lot of interesting props and things for doing the blacklight photography.
Yeah, especially right now. I know neon has really made a big comeback.
It
so
certainly
it's probably
has.
easy to find.
It's very easy to find.
Yeah. And now your last image here is titled DNA.
Yes.
And this again is slinkies.
This again is slinkies. This is 3 slinkies that I've shot, kind of intertwined, hanging from a string, with a nice black background. They're fluorescent with the black lights fluorescing on them. And so I think it's a fun shot, and it looks to me like what I imagine DNA looks like, at least from the drawings I've seen in school and things like that.
Very cool. Well, these are very nice images, the blacklight images that you've brought with you, and the architectural images are different. It's a different point of view that you've shot them at.
Well, thanks. I really enjoy sharing my images with other people, and I appreciate letting me do so.
Yeah. So you've won so many prestigious awards, but you didn't go to school for photography. What got you interested in it?
Well, I think really what got me interested in it was some of the process of just shooting for fun. I remember just walking around with my camera and shooting a lot, and in the Tyson's Corner area, there's a number of buildings. A lot of reflective buildings with glass and girders, some of the more modern style. I remember walking around and starting to shoot some, and I took them home and got them developed, because it was film back in those days. And I got them back and I showed them to a couple of people, and people got very excited. They're like, "These are really interesting shots. I've never seen shots like this before." And it really got me excited, and it made me want to do it more. So I would start going out on little exhibitions, trying to find those neat buildings in the area. And Washington has so many interesting architectural aspects to it. It wasn't very hard to do. And so I went out more and more and started shooting, and it really blossomed into something that I loved. Then as I got to be able to travel, as I got older, being able to afford it, and then with work as well, I go to all sorts of cities for my job. And I walk around in the morning before I go to work. I like to get up very early and walk around with that early morning light and capture it, beaming onto the buildings, or even catching, people or animals in the park and things like that. I really enjoy getting up at that time of day. And then I've got the rest of my day to go work, and then by the end of the day, I might have another opportunity for another hour of that late afternoon sunlight, which I enjoy very much. So it was very fulfilling to me to see people respond to my images when I show them to them, and the more I do that, the more I like it. So I've never gotten tired of that.
Yeah. And so have you continuously shot, from that one class you took in high school, which got you, into photography? Has there ever been a time where you left photography for a little bit and came back?
I've left for a while. I think when I was younger, I think I just got busy with things and had other creative outlets. I was trying to do a little painting, trying to do a little drawing, things like that. But I always came back to the photography. And it seems like the camera was always there. I was always shooting at least my family or my friends or something. and I would just keep shooting, and then I kept going back to that architecture kept drawing me in.
And when you switched to digital, did that change how you felt about photography at all?
It did a little. I think it actually was a difficult change at first. I found I was shooting in a different way that I wasn't shooting before. And then when I slowed down and realized, well, if I would just shoot like I shot before, I would get better results. So there's that weird transition period I think a lot of people go through, going from film to digital. You just kind of get used to the equipment and then get comfortable with the fact that you need to follow those same things that you did when you were shooting film. Slowing down, using a tripod is a great tool to help you slow down and really capture that image, look at all the different sides of the viewfinder to make sure that things aren't intruding, that the building lines are lining up nicely with the side of the viewfinder to give you that nice perspective.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they go to digital, you have this unlimited, just about amount of pictures that you can take, and you start shooting and shooting and shooting, and then you're looking at the images, you're missing things that are happening because you're busy looking at the screen. And I've heard a lot of people say that they've actually taped up their LCD screen on the back of their camera just so they're not even tempted to look. So that is a hard transition to make. It really is. Yeah, and then with digital and leaving the dark room, going into the light room, with Photoshop, has that been a challenge for you? Well, for me, that's actually been very easy because I'm a computer programmer by profession. So working with the computer for me is just secondhand nature. So I find it very easy and very enjoyable as well, especially on those cold days when I don't want to be outside shooting. I'm able to work in Photoshop or in Lightroom and enhance my images or learn new techniques. For more information about Scott Musson's work, please contact him using the information listed on your screen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your images are striking. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. Join us next time on Behind the Lens.